Magic in the morning in Rihanna. 8:35 and snowing and cold out there. 26 our temperature. Mike Barrett with us. Today he's not in the studio, but because he knows the importance of spreading information about good insurance policies, he calls in this morning. How are you, Mike?
I am well, Jeff. How are you?
I'm okay. Had an eventful drive-in this morning. A little slippery. Fortunately, I didn't go off the road or anything, but it was slick in our neck of the woods. How are things Waterford, St. Jay area?
Not too bad in Waterford. The roads are pretty well packed down. St. Jay, a little bit of a different story. This is an early season snowfall, so it's a type of snow that's going to be more of a slush, especially with that mixed precipitation we had. So the roads in St. Jay aren't necessarily so plowed off; they're more slushed off, and so so a little bit of a challenge in the town this morning. So just do what we hear all the time this time of year: take it easy. Give yourself extra time. Start braking early. Don't brake at the normal time that you would, because guess what? You're going to meet your neighbor pretty quick.
Very quickly.
Yeah. But you know what I thought is I thought this morning, we could talk a little bit about, the importance of winter safety and winter driving. I, for a long time, was a member of the Summer Tires Club. I just liked to not have to pay for winter tires. And over the years, as I've grown, I've realized the importance and the benefit of having snow tires on your car. So that's one way for sure that you can help protect yourself and give yourself a little bit of an advantage this time of year, because one way to control your cost for auto insurance is to not have a claim. And yes, it's there to file a claim if you need to, but anything you can do to try to mitigate your possibility of loss is going to vote in your favor through the continuation of loss-free credits on your auto insurance policy and things like that. So good to think about. All seasons, well, they're all right, but it's interesting. When I had my son, that's about when I started to change. Like, all right, well, I was okay taking a chance when it was just me, but now that I have a precious young cargo in the vehicle, I think I want to upgrade, and I'm glad I did. It's really been a benefit for me over the years. So that's one thing. But let's talk about the fun stuff. We're talking ski season, snowmobile season. I mean, it's not happening today. It's not happening tomorrow, but this is what we need to get that underway. And if you have snowmobiles or even ATVs with those cool tracks on them, be thinking about your insurance and your protection for when you're going off of your premises to make sure that you have appropriate coverage. Remember, there's multiple ways to insure ATVs and snowmobiles, and one of them, if you are a homeowner, is to put them on your homeowner's policy. Sure, that's a way to do it. That's going to give you liability protection for when you're on the trail. If you are the reason for injury to others or property damage to others, let's turn it around, though. Somebody hits you with either not enough or no insurance. If you have your ATV or snowmobile on your homeowner policy, you don't have any protection because you're the insured. So you don't have any protection for uninsured motorists or for medical payments. So that's why we often recommend, even if it doesn't price out the same, and typically it actually prices out better, is to have a separate policy for those units. Have a snowmobile policy. There are companies out there that sell them, like Progressive and Safeco and Foremost and the American Modern Insurance Group and many, many, many others. Go see what those rates are. Check them out. Get the similar policy that you have for your auto insurance for your recreational vehicle for optimized protection.
I was going to ask you how in the world you do that, because last week when you were in, we talked about ways that you can cover yourself through your homeowner's insurance, but I think the example that you used was the best one. You may not be at fault, somebody else is.
Right. And the best way to consider a homeowner's insurance policy is the property coverage is for you to receive payment and be indemnified of your loss. The liability portion, which is the crux of an auto insurance policy and a snowmobile and recreational vehicles, the liability is, again, for your protection, but it's to protect your bank accounts so that your liability is being shared by the company and not by you. So if you are the one sustaining injury, you're kind of out of payment. You don't have an option if you just have those units on a homeowner policy.
And we talked very, very briefly about this within the last couple of weeks, but I'm sure you saw this on your way into work this morning. There's a ton, for lack of a better phrase here, a ton of trucks out there that have sanders in the back and plows on the front. And these, especially if they're doing it for business, they need insurance coverage too.
Absolutely. And anyone who's plowing needs not one, but two policies. They need a policy to cover their commercial exposure for a commercial auto policy that's going to protect them and rate them as a snowplow or standing operation. But furthermore, they're going to need a general liability policy, because a general liability policy is what's going to protect them if through numerous agreements with the properties that they plow, if somebody sustains an injury by slipping and falling or getting hurt on said property, if you were the one as the professional who's snow plowing and sanding the property, you could be deemed responsible. And your commercial auto policy will not respond to that. You will need a general liability policy for products and completed operations. So that's something to think about too if you're thinking about with this fresh white coating of getting into the snow plowing business.
Well, how would it play into a consumer out there, Mike, if they've got a sander in the back of their truck, they got a plow on the front of their rig, and they're driving down the roads in the ice, and it doesn't matter what you got for tires in the ice, say they slide off the road, how are they covered that way?
That's a very good question. So if you just have your own, for your own needs, and you're not getting paid to plow or sand, you can most commonly just have a personal auto policy. But when you start attaching things that are not from the factory to your vehicle, you need to have customized coverage. There's coverage available in auto policies for you to list a limit of value. So let's say you've got a $3,000 plow and a $2,500 sander. You're going to want to have that total $5,500 value listed as additional equipment on your policy for when the vehicle has those units on them. The reason being, let's say you slipped and got into a total accident, they're going to look up the actual cash value of the truck that you have, and the actual cash value of the truck that you have will not show a plow or a sander. So that's why you have to account for that. Otherwise, companies will say, we didn't insure that, it's not covered.
Okay. That was why we asked that question, because even weather forecaster Mark Breen saying that this is more like mid-season weather, and we all think we remember how to drive in the winter, but it does take a little bit of acclimation, right?
When you hop on a bike for the first time in a while, you don't just start riding with no hands. So it takes a little while to get reacclimated. So once you've done it, you know how to do it, but you do have to readjust your mindset. So that's huge. And one thing too that I'll throw out there real quick: when you're brushing off your car, most people just brush off the windshield and the windows. Not a good thing. You want to brush off your whole car. Because think about it this way. You're driving down the road, especially on a day like today where you had that mixed precipitation. So now that snow that's on your car is frozen. That becomes a projectile. You're driving down the road and that kicks up and it causes an accident. Guess what? It could come back on you. So clean your whole car off if you can.
Well, sadly, we read horrible stories like that every winter in our news here from the desk, and it's a horrible thought. But another thing, too, and Vermont State Police will remind you of this, if you don't take care of it, that ice that builds up in your fender wells is also a liability from you as well. Yeah. So, you are responsible for taking care of these types of things. So do a little extra effort, give yourself a little extra time in the morning, brush the car off properly, check things out, make sure you're good to go, and you'll have a safe commute in, and you won't have to worry about calling your insurance first. And I was just going to say, and keep in touch with your insurance agent. Tell them how they can get in touch with you.
Sure, you can give us a call, 748-5224. Visit us right here where I am right now, Portland Street in St. Johnsbury between Beacon Realty and Union Bank. If you have come across the bridge and see the white market, you've gone too far. We're on the left-hand side as you're coming that way. You can also find us online, thebarrettagency.com. Google, Facebook, and YouTube is all Barrett Insurance Agency. And, of course, with Magic in the Morning, 8:35 on Tuesdays. Thanks, Mike. Absolutely. Thank you, sir. Have a safe day. You too. Be safe. Stay warm. All right. You too. All right. Good policies, Magic in the Morning, and we're going to go right back to the music.